Good morning, Florida, and congratulations on joining the rest of us in the great staycation. Hopefully, you will be able to add Ninja Nation to that very, very shortly by the wearing and use of masks. Um, so yeah, I mean, I was very, very happy yesterday to see that you guys finally, they had the state order. Um, and so now you guys are in the position of being like one of the, hopefully one of the states that will slowly start to push the curve down. You need to add masks to that. I'll get to that in a second. Um, I was looking at some information from some of the other states, and like I mentioned this before, like for example, Louisiana was actually doing a good job, and but their neighbors were kind of like, meh. Um, yeah, like Alabama. Um, wow. Uh, yeah, Alabama has this woman who's a governor. This is not a sexist comment, but boy is she thick. Um, this is what she said yesterday. About closing down the state. This was before Florida did, so maybe that might have some influence on her. And this is what she said. This is the governor of Alabama. Y'all, we're not Louisiana. We're not New York State. We are not California. No shit. One of the things that always kind of like interested me about a couple of these states, these two or three states that they always finish last in everything. Do the people there, do they not know that they finished last in everything, and they never try to like improve this? You know, again, like this is about lives. These people are responsible for the people's lives who live in their state. I mean, that's the whole entire point of being a leader. I mean, you have some responsibility because you're making decisions which affect, not just the quality of life, but, whether or not someone can live or die. Um, and, sometimes it's like you some of these states, you just kind of wish that they would kind of like not be states anymore because they clearly are, they're failing. Maybe they should join other states that have kind of like a little better leadership or a little like, a little more information that can help people because, they're just not doing it. And like before I was talking yesterday about, or 2 days ago about Kentucky and Tennessee. Yeah, I found the numbers. Right now, I said Kentucky took measures, and right now they've got 600 officially infected people. All right, Tennessee has 2,600. And even if both of them are kind of like starting to go up the curve at the same time, this is about adding cases each day, like percentages of the previous day's cases. Well, if you're starting at 2,600 and the other one's starting at 600, that state is going to be adding a lot more daily. This is why it was so important to take these measures as early as possible. Another one was like Mississippi. Again, I mean, what? Both of these states are known for like college football and what? I mean, other than the racists. I mean, like, and I'm from the deep South. I know these people, but it's a lot of people that live there. It's kind of cute. The lifestyle. It's kind of cute, but at some point they have to have at least like a couple of people in the states. And I saw that in these states, for example, Alabama, the lieutenant governor is someone with a brain. And he was putting out information, like he was in charge of this task force similar to like Mike Pence. And Hawaii was the same thing. And Hawaii is a Democratic governor. Like I told you, this is not Republican or Democrat. This is like competent or incompetent. And Hawaii had the same thing. They've got like a Democratic governor who's a moron, and then the lieutenant governor who was actually putting out this information about the actual things that you need to do in order to prevent like this like grotesque spread of the virus. And as soon as the smart person starts speaking, the governor's like, oh, shut the fuck up, and move to the side, because it makes them look bad and they don't agree with it. Like it's like, why did you give this job to this person in the first place? You have this smart, talented person who is your lieutenant governor, who clearly is more competent and more intelligent than actually is the person that should be working on these types of things. And then that person comes back with, actual information, based on science and numbers. Numbers don't lie. And then these governors are like, oh, I don't like those numbers. Like, what the hell? I mean, it's awful. So Alabama, they had the exact same thing. I mean, I really hope that when these people come up for re-election, that this does come back to haunt them, because that, I mean, we can have future crises. There can be other types of things can happen. There could be another pandemic, and I really hope that the people that live in these states will look at trying to find other people in these parties who are competent. Sorry, I know sometimes the smart people can be a little bit boring, but you need to have a bit of a brain up there in some of these states. So Mississippi, oh my God, so they had another governor who decided to do absolutely nothing. Okay, and apparently some of them, I was reading an article this morning, some of them basically were just waiting for cues from the White House. Because you guys don't have the national order, which you need, and I will talk about that. You need this national order. They were just waiting to see what the White House does. And this is the whole entire thing. I know Pelosi got burned for saying this thing about Trump fiddled, well, blah 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 blah. But I mean, they're talking about Nero, and it's like Nero fiddled, and there were no violins back there. Fiddling actually meant something else, which I'm not gonna Google it. He fiddled while Rome burned, and this is the whole entire thing. You have these governors that are, not taking action. Just letting some bad thing happen, either out of just stupidity, incompetence, fear of their own position, which is, that is something that we will have to address in the future. If you have leaders whose inaction in their own states was due to their fear of something political, I'm going to lose an election. No, those people need to go, and you guys really need, as a country, to come back and revisit this, because that's not going to help anybody. All right, so Fauci, who I still can't believe he's almost 80 years old. That's just shocking to me. He's 79 years old. So now he has to have a security team because he's receiving threats from Trump supporters. Yeah, this is the guy who's actually out there with the most experience and intelligence in these things, and he's being held back. We all know this. He's been held back quite a bit by the White House because he wants to keep that job because we need to have someone like him up there, and anybody who's up there that's going to have these qualifications is definitely going to disagree with some of the things in the White House, because there's facts and then there's political messaging, and sometimes those two things do not go hand in hand. And I can understand that he has to restrain himself to keep the job, because we need him. We need him to be doing this job. He's the expert for this. The man with the experience. This is the person you need. And it's so funny that he's actually not saying everything he wants to say, and yet he's receiving threats from Trump supporters because he's making the president look bad. Fauci's not trying to make the president look bad. Fauci's trying to save lives. And that's just, again, how far can that bar go? I've seen, I put this on Facebook that yesterday in the Czech Republic, that Tiger King thing from Florida was the #9 thing on Netflix in the Czech Republic, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not watching that crap. now I'm dreading like all my students like, we watched this thing about Florida, so that's what Floridians are like, and I'll be like, oh God, I'm gonna have to explain, kind of like the three different Floridas thing, and to talk about which types of Floridians there are, because there's three, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and so there was that, and again, this Jerome Adams, I mentioned yesterday that he's this functional idiot. Yeah, so he's talking about like the face masks, and he said he has no idea if they work or not, and we're going to look and learn. Dude, you just need to, like I said, you just need to look over the fence, look across the pond at what we're doing here. One of my friends, actually, I guess like one of the 5 people that watches these shitty videos, actually wrote me this morning that like they had one of the Czech health officials on the news last night in the United States, on Brian Williams, talking about the masks and stuff, like, because it works here. Okay, it works here. We are, like I said, like, we have been doing this for a while now, especially compared to Florida. We know what we're doing. It's not going to be embarrassing for the United States of America to get an idea about how to solve something from a foreign country. These types of foreign ideas you can import, especially now, because they're going to save your citizens. Like, they're going to save a lot of grandmas and a lot of grandpas. So Florida now is basically up to about 8,000 cases, and then in the Czech Republic we are at about 3,600. Okay, so I mean, even if you go back 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you guys basically you started after us, you caught us very quickly, and then you just jumped right past us. Okay, and what's the difference? You were taking no action in Florida, and we were taking like the correct actions. This is the thing. Like, even if the masks, are not as effective as we think they are. Because, I mean, if you look at South Korea, you look at the Asian countries where they do this. This is going to be a normal thing. I'm telling my students, my friends here in the Czech Republic, we're going to start wearing masks now, kind of like as a fashion thing. It's going to be a normal thing here, especially in the winter. I did this in January before I went to Berlin, because in October I got ill the night before I had to go, and I had to cancel my trip, and I lost a lot of money on the reservations. So, I mean, I had surgical masks here in January because I was just like, because sometimes I have to use the public transport, and I'm just kind of like, I am not going to let one of these bastards, get me ill again, So I was wearing them on public transport for 2 weeks, and of course people were looking at me like I'm crazy, which is basically kind of like, clever people, you kind of get used to the fact that people are going to treat you like you're crazy all the time, because, like, you can see a lot of things that they can't, and, so like you're basically kind of like a wizard, and, algebra is magic. So it's like you get this guy, and it's kind of like, we're going to look and learn. You don't have to look and learn. You can see now and know and act. It's really simple. This is not something which takes like a huge amount of consideration. It just is. Okay, just do the masks. Is there anything else? One quick thing. But again, masks. That's the whole point of this thing. So you're halfway there. You got that. You got to do the masks. Actually, 2 more things. One of them is this is ridiculous. Like this thing about Idaho. This is not really related to coronavirus, but it kind of is actually. So we're in the middle of this this global pandemic, and the focus of the states needs to be on the coronavirus. Okay, and I mentioned before we were talking about some things with the evangelicals and how some of the states and these pastors and stuff. Oh, that was the thing about Mississippi. Sorry. So Mississippi, the governor there basically, was doing nothing, and some of the cities were actually trying to take local action to prevent the spread of the virus. And so Mississippi, so he has this decree that basically said gave the state supremacy. Okay, that the cities could not limit their citizens any more than what the state was doing, and the state was doing nothing. So basically in Mississippi it was a free for all, and then they had this list of essential businesses. So they went to the essential businesses thing, and churches was on there. So in Mississippi, basically, they were limiting some things, but you could still go to church and have these big, large groups of people in one. I mean, like, no, I don't want to see anybody die. This is like the kind of gallows humor. During the AIDS thing in the 80s and early 90s, and this wasn't an HIV thing, this was the AIDS thing. This is one reason why the Gen X, we're really, really good for this situation because, we grew up as children knowing that we could die at any second because of the, the threat of like global thermonuclear war, which was a thing. It scared us. We knew about this possibility, like I know, for example, when I was a little kid, I knew like how long I had if the Russians shot first or we shot first. I think it was 13 minutes and 18 minutes because there was a Honeywell plant in Pinellas County that made the triggers for the MMX missiles or the MX missiles, and so we were a strategic target. We were first strike zone. So I knew it was like I had 13 minutes or like 21 minutes or something like that to live. So that, and then the AIDS thing, we saw people die. Like if you got it, you died. I was going to discos and stuff when I was like 17, 18, in the very, very, very early 90s. And yeah, I mean, I knew people that died. So I mean, like, we survived all this stuff. So this is for us is kind of like, yeah, we got this. It's tragic. People are, I mean, like, but anyway, so, oh my god, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, Idaho. Yeah, so Idaho on Saturday. All right, and this is like a political thing I don't want to get into. It's like, Idaho, the governor like made this big deal on Saturday to sign 2 laws that were kind of like restricting or doing some kind of thing against the rights of the trans community. Okay, and I don't want to talk about if it's good or bad, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But it's just like, it seemed weird. And then, right after that, like he signs that, and then right after that, like Idaho has a big earthquake out of nowhere. And this is the thing that I wanted to come back to the evangelicals, because every single time there's a problem in the United States, the evangelicals will say, it's because of the homosexuals, like, the United States of America is too tolerant of the homosexual, and this is why we have hurricanes, and this is why we have, like potholes on the interstate highways. If we just kind of like, stopped helping all these homosexuals, we would be even more successful, and God would love us even more. And they say this stuff all the time. Everything. Every natural disaster, every bad, the stock market crashes, you have all these evangelicals saying, it's the fault of the gays. The gays did this. And then now I thought it was a bit like, I hope no one died in the earthquake, but I was like, yeah. So like in the middle of a pandemic, instead of doing pandemic stuff, the governor of Idaho, takes the time out of his busy anti-pandemic schedule, to sign these 2 like anti-trans laws, and then right after that, there's an earthquake out of nowhere. And I was just waiting for, the evangelical response to that. Like, I could be like, well, the reason Idaho had that earthquake was because the laws that they signed to punish the trans community clearly did not go far enough to please the Lord. Or like, I can't wait to see how they spin this. And I'm not making fun of religious people. I love Christians, and like I said, it's just, to me, there are good Christians and bad Christians, and these people clearly are not the good ones. Like let's punish people instead. We should be saving people now, but like, oh, we've got a little bit of energy left. We can go over here and just punish these people some more. Like, yeah, that's a person with a really, really good heart. Anyway, so there's that. Oh, and the other thing was I was doing some research on HIV because, this is one of the things like, in the community, this is a thing, but I just there wasn't a lot of news on that, and I started following this, to see like if there actually had been, any influence or like high like deaths or people are more at risk or not. And I actually found out, and this is very preliminary. This is very preliminary. That apparently, because they were trying to use like some of the HIV drugs, not the cocktails, but just individual components, as treatment for the coronavirus people, the people that were infected now. And I found something really interesting. I mean, this is a feeling that I had, and then I actually found something today that the people who are HIV positive and on the medication, which basically eliminates the virus in their body to the point where it's undetectable, and their immune system basically returns over time basically to like a fully functioning immune system, depending on when how long they had it before they started the treatment and things like that. But I did find some information about the SARS and MERS, the other viruses, the acute respiratory illnesses, viral. And I found out that actually there were a couple of like papers that were written about the fact that they actually had not seen hardly anybody who was an HIV patient who actually developed SARS or MERS. And again, like the group here is a little bit too small and the information is a little bit too preliminary. But even I was looking for the coronavirus and things like that, and I think there was I saw basically just one, but it was someone who kind of like got it quickly and recovered. So I'm not telling people like if you have HIV, be like celebrate or like let your guard down. I mean, because it's probable that you actually will actually get the virus and then kind of like I mean. I don't know. I mean, the medicines that they are already taking basically kind of like, they're, I know, for example, like people that have like the herpes sores and things like that, like they're on the HIV medication, they don't actually, get those anymore. So, silver lining? I mean, I don't know. But like, yeah, so that seemed like that seemed like a nice thing. Is there anything else? No. That's it. But so again, congratulations on getting your statewide lockdown. And I know for some of you it's going to be horrible. I'll try to actually make some smaller videos about the actual things you can do to survive that without like finishing like with your husband's body like in the crawl space under your house. Because it will be a bit annoying, and you will get a little bit fat like me. But get on the masks. That's the other thing. You just need now. You're halfway there. Okay, you got the social distancing. You've got the staycations. So now you need to move on to the masks. All right. So good job, Florida. Congratulations. So hopefully now we can start getting this thing down because you're kind of like you're like on the what do you call it? Like on the roller coasters, on the uphill or whatever. Yeah, you're still there. But anyway, great job. See you all tomorrow. Bye.